Captain Thexvar had witnessed warfare across 17 star systems. The methodical bombardments of the Rigel coalition, the precise tactical strikes of the Vegan Empire, even the chaotic swarm tactics of the Centauri hives, all followed predictable patterns rooted in logic, resource management, and strategic advantage. War, in his experience, was a calculated dance of mathematics and physics. The humans changed everything. Standing on the observation deck of his flagship, the Sovereign's Will, Thexvar watched through the transparent aluminum as Earth's third moon erupted in nuclear fire. His 4 eyes tracked the expanding plasma clouds with professional interest, mandibles clicking in what his species considered analytical contemplation. The human colony there had been a minor military installation, hardly worth the antimatter torpedoes his fleet had expended. By all tactical assessments, the humans should surrender within the next solar cycle. Captain, his communications officer, Lieutenant Zeph-Nael, spoke from behind him. We're receiving multiple transmissions from the human homeworld. Terms of surrender? Thexvar asked, not turning from the viewport. Negative, sir. They're unusual. Thexvar finally rotated his elongated head toward the younger officer. In their species, confusion was expressed through the subtle shift of skin chromatophores, and Zeph-Nael's hide rippled with uncertain patterns. Define unusual. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, sir. Music, poetry, personal messages. And Zeph-Nael hesitated. Combat footage from their historical archives. They're showing us their wars. The captain's interest sharpened. Intelligence gathering through cultural transmission was an old tactic, though typically employed during peace negotiations. Analysis? Our xenopsychology team believes it's a form of intimidation display, but Zeph-Nael's chromatophores deepened to confused amber. The mathematics don't align, sir. They're showing us conflicts where they fought each other with primitive chemical explosives and kinetic weapons. By our calculations, the casualties they inflicted on themselves exceed the population of entire hegemony worlds. Thexvar processed this information with growing unease. Every civilized species understood that warfare had limits, economic, biological, logical limits that prevented total destruction. The purpose of conflict was acquisition of resources or territory, not annihilation. Sir, the communications officer continued, the transmissions aren't random. They're sending specific messages to our ships. They've somehow identified individual crew members and are broadcasting personal challenges. Impossible. Our communications are quantum encrypted. Yes, sir. But they're doing it anyway. 3 days later, when the human fleet arrived, Thexvar understood why the transmissions had seemed so alien. He watched from his tactical center as human vessels, outgunned and technologically inferior, hurled themselves directly at his battle line with an abandon that defied every principle of warfare he'd learned. A human destroyer, its hull breached and atmosphere venting, rammed itself into the hangar bay of his heavy cruiser Dominion. The explosion took both ships, but not before the human crew transmitted a single message, for Luna Base. For every soul you burned. Captain, his tactical officer reported, voice tight with something approaching panic, they're not trying to win in any conventional sense. They're trying to make us pay the highest possible price for victory. As the battle raged, Thexvar realized his fundamental error. His species, like every other in the hegemony, waged war for gain. The humans waged war for meaning. They fought not just for territory or resources, but for concepts his translators struggled to render: honor, vengeance, the protection of ideals that held no tangible value. When the human flagship Indomitable finally broke through his defensive perimeter, its hull scarred by weapons fire that should have destroyed it hours ago, Thexvar found himself face to face with something unprecedented in his military career, an enemy that considered death an acceptable cost for inflicting suffering on those who had wronged them. The final human transmission came from Captain Maria Rodriguez of the Indomitable. You wanted war, Captain. This is what human war looks like. Remember that when you tell your superiors about today. Thexvar watched his fleet burn around him and realized that for the first time in his career, he was truly afraid. Not of death, death was calculable, rational. He was afraid of humanity's willingness to embrace irrationality as a weapon, to transform their own destruction into their enemy's nightmare. War, he now understood, wasn't just about tactics and technology. Sometimes it was about fury, pure and undiluted, wielded by beings who would rather burn the universe than submit to its conquerors.